So today we shall start our discussion on the topic called hydrostatics first. First I will teach theory of hydrostatics, then followed by surface tension and then viscosity. So first we start our discussion on the topic called hydrostatics. This is a very important topic, especially from the entrance examination point of view. This is a very important chapter, a very important topic. Even though in your NCERT text this is given in brief as a very small topic, it appears in the NCERT text. So let us start with pressure. The concept for pressure. I think yesterday while we were discussing the topic called modulus of velocity, some of you told me that pressure is force by area. At the same time itself I told you that it is wrong. Pressure is not simply force by area, it is normal force by area. Normal force by area, and this normal force is also known as thrust. So pressure is thrust by area. That is the basic and the fundamental definition of pressure. Thrust by area. Now what is the difference between the force and normal force? You all know. Suppose a force is acting like this on a surface, then in order to calculate the pressure, you have to get this component of the force. So if this angle is theta, this angle will also be theta, so this will be F cos theta, and the pressure will be F cos theta divided by A. That is your pressure. Now we are more interested in hydrostatic pressure, the pressure exerted by a liquid, or pressure inside a liquid in equilibrium. We are dealing with the liquids which are in equilibrium, which are stationary. That is why the name hydrostatics, like electrostatics. So let us now look at the hydrostatic pressure. So what is the reason for the pressure at any point inside a fluid? Suppose I take a point here, call it as A. What is the responsible factor for a pressure to act at this point? It's very simple. It's like you construct a cylinder here. Suppose that you have constructed a cylinder made of the same liquid, say water. Imagine that this is the liquid that is filled here is water. Then if I construct an imaginary cylinder here, the weight of the cylindrical column of water above this point will be acting on this point in the vertically downward direction, and due to that a force will be acting here, and that force when divided by the area will give you the pressure acting at that point. So pressure at a point in a liquid is actually due to the weight of the liquid column above that particular point. And you have a formula, you have derived it in your +1 class. This is P equal to H rho g. That is the expression for the hydrostatic pressure, P equal to H rho g. Now you see that from this formula you see that the pressure increases with H, and also it is proportional to the density of the liquid. Many students think that H is the height of the liquid column. Unfortunately it is not so. Pressure is measured, hydrostatic pressure is measured from the surface of the liquid, not from the bottom. So you measure the pressure from the surface, free surface of the liquid. So this H is actually the depth at which the point is located. So if 2 points are there, this is at a depth H1 and this is at a depth H2. This is P and this is Q, not P and Q, because already we are using P for pressure. This is B and this is C. Then you can see that P pressure at C will be greater than the pressure at B, because H2 is greater than H1. So the hydrostatic pressure increases with the depths. Now if somebody asks you what is the total pressure here, you may have to add the atmospheric pressure also to this term. So the pressure, total pressure at the point A will be P0 plus H2 rho g, not at A, this is C, and the pressure at B will be again P0 plus H1 rho g. So these are the expressions for the hydrostatic pressure, total pressure at any point inside a fluid in equilibrium. When you come to the surface of the liquid, liquid in the surface like then the hydrostatic pressure here is 0, because I have been repeatedly telling you that h is not the height, it is the depth at which the point is situated from the free surface of water or free surface of the liquid, whatever it is. സർഫസിൽ നിന്ന് താഴോട്ടുള്ള ഡെപ്ത് ആണ് h എന്ന് പറയുന്നത്, അല്ലാണ്ട് ഹൈറ്റ് അല്ല. That is why when we reach the surface of the liquid, the hydrostatic pressure becomes 0, but the atmospheric pressure is always there. So if somebody asks you what is the pressure on the free surface of a liquid, your answer should be atmospheric pressure, not 0. On the other hand, if somebody asks you to calculate the hydrostatic pressure on the surface of the liquid, quite obviously your answer will be 0. Answer 0 ആയിരിക്കും. അതിന് യാതൊരു സംശയമില്ല. കാരണം ഇവിടെ എന്തില്ല, എച്ച് ഇല്ല എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ you have reached the free surface of the liquid. So that is regarding the pressure. Then I will give you two results. Number one, if somebody asks you to calculate the thrust at the bottom of a container, suppose you have a container like this, it is filled with a liquid of density rho up to a height h, then what is the thrust at the bottom of the container? So thrust at the bottom of the container, thrust at A will be equal to pressure at A into area of the bottom. So pressure at the bottom, not A, pressure at the bottom. Thrust at the bottom, any point. Thrust at the bottom equal to pressure at the bottom into area of the bottom, and thrust on the sides, thrust on the sides equal to average pressure into area. So you remember these two results. Thrust at the bottom equal to pressure at the bottom into area of the bottom. Thrust on the sides equal to average pressure into area. There are some important properties for the hydrostatic pressure. The number one is, all of you know, in a liquid in equilibrium, we are dealing with liquids which are in equilibrium. All points in the same horizontal level are at the same pressure. So if you have 3 points A, B, C, then PA equal to PB equal to PC. All points in the same horizontal level are at the same pressure. That is the first property. All points in the same horizontal level are at the same pressure. Now let us look at the second property, which is even more interesting. Let us consider a point here. The pressure in this direction is P. Then what is the pressure in this direction which makes an angle theta with the horizontal? The pressure along this direction is P. I want to know what is the pressure along this direction. The pressure in this direction is also P. That is why I told you that we have a very interesting result. It's more interesting than the other one, which says that all points in the same horizontal level are at the same pressure. If the pressure in one direction the point is P, the pressure in all directions at the same point is also P. It's a direction independent. So don't go for the components of the pressure. It has the same value in all directions. There is something called the Pascal's law. I'm saying everything in brief. Because we are not going to write a theory examination from here on. All our theory examinations are over. Next is Pascal's law. What is Pascal's law? Pascal's law says that any change of pressure in an enclosed fluid will be transmitted equally and undiminished in all directions. If you make any change of pressure in a liquid, then that change of pressure will be transmitted equally and undiminished in all directions. This is called Pascal's law. And you have seen some instruments also which works on the basis of Pascal's law in your +1 course. Hydraulic lift. If you don't know them, you may copy from the board. Hydraulic lift, hydraulic brake, then hydraulic press. He is also known by the name Brahma press. Then dentist chair, that is actually hydraulics lift, dentist chair. These are the some of the dentist chair you may write. All these things work on the basis of Pascal's law. So there are two platforms, one having a smaller area and other one having a larger area. They are connected by a tube like this. And if you apply a small force here, this is capital A. If you apply a force F here, the pressure acting on the smaller platform will be F by A. That pressure will be transmitted through the fluid connecting the two platforms and it will reach here, and therefore the pressure acting on the bottom of the platform having larger area will also be F by A. Therefore the force acting on the larger platform in the upward direction will be F by A into area of the larger platform. So this is equal to F into A by A. Even though small f and small a are very small, capital A is a very large number. That area is very large when compared to the area of the smaller platform. So capital A by small a is a huge number. When you multiply this small force with such a huge number, you will get a large amount of force using which you can lift the vehicles. So the thing is, sometimes you may be asked to find the weight of the vehicles that can be lifted by applying a force. The areas of the two platforms will be given, not the areas. Actually what they give will be the diameters. Then you may write F equal to F into d by d the whole square. Pi r square is the area, pi get cancelled, r is d by 2. So there is nothing in it, 2 and 2 get cancelled. So finally you end up with this result. The force this is the force that is acting on an object placed on the platform having the larger area. വലിയ ഏരിയയുള്ള പ്ലാറ്റ്ഫോമിൻ്റെ മുകളിൽ നീ ഒരു ഒബ്ജക്റ്റിനെ വെച്ചാൽ ആ ഒബ്ജക്റ്റിൻ്റെ മുകളിൽ താഴെ നിന്ന് മുകളിലേക്ക് ആക്ട് ചെയ്യുന്ന ഫോഴ്സാണ് ആ ക്യാപിറ്റൽ എഫ് എന്ന് പറയുന്ന സാധനം. So these type of questions can also appear for the examination, for your entrance examination, whatever it is. Hope you have understood this. Hydraulic lift. Okay, so that is about the hydraulic lift and Pascal's law. Only that much is sufficient for you. Next is Archimedes principle and flotation, which is the heart of this chapter. If somebody asks me what is the heart of this chapter, my answer will be Archimedes principle and flotation. Both are very, very important, and many students have not studied these two properly. Now Archimedes principle is nothing but apparent weight of a body immersed in a fluid will be mg minus v rho g. This is Archimedes principle. Actually only the last term is Archimedes contribution. We are using that, we are calculating the apparent weight of an object solid immersed in a liquid. Apparent weight of a solid immersed in a liquid. What is this? First of all, we should understand that the Archimedes principle is not for bodies which are floating on the surface of a liquid. There is no Archimedes principle for a body that floats. Archimedes principle is only for bodies which are immersed in a fluid. As Chaitanya has written, it is applicable for both the bodies which are partially immersed or fully immersed. So this is actually the volume of the liquid displaced by the body. V is the volume of the liquid displaced by the body. When the body is fully immersed, this will be equal to the volume of the body itself. So this is the volume of the fluid displaced by the body. Then this is the density of the fluid. Therefore this is the mass of the fluid displaced by the body, and this is the weight of the fluid displaced by the body. So this is actually the weight of the fluid displaced by the body. Liquid anengil liquid. So we are dealing with the liquids. So weight of the liquid displaced. Now when the body is fully immersed, this will be equal to the volume of the body also. സംശയമൊന്നുമില്ല, കാരണം അന്നേരം ബോഡിയുടെ വോള്യൂം, ബോഡി is placed in a liquid and a volume, they will become equal only when the body is fully immersed, and assuming that it's a solid object, they will be equal. So this is Archimedes principle. When a body is immersed in a fluid, it experiences a loss of weight which is equal to the upthrust acting on the body, or which is equal to the weight of the liquid displaced by the body. When a body is immersed in a liquid, generally fluid, when a body is immersed in a fluid, it experiences a loss of weight which is equal to the weight of the fluid displaced by the body. That is what Archimedes principle is. So this is called the apparent weight, and this is the true weight. This is the weight of the body in air, this is the apparent weight. Now even there is nothing, if you say that this is the weight of the body in air, that itself is wrong, because Archimedes himself has said that even in air the bodies have loss of weight. Every body has a loss of weight, whether you weigh it in air or in water or in some other liquid, except when you weigh it in, correct answer, vacuum. Only when you weigh the body in vacuum, V rho g becomes 0 and W equal to mg, that's all. In all other media there is a loss of weight. Even in air there is a loss of weight, but we neglect the loss of weight in air because density of air is much smaller when compared with the density of the most of the liquids. So that is why we are neglecting. അത്രേ ഉള്ളൂ. അല്ലാണ്ട് ആർക്കിമെഡിസ് പ്രിൻസിപ്പിൾ പ്രകാരം ആർക്കിമെഡിസിൻ്റെ പറഞ്ഞിരിക്കണം, ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞു നിങ്ങളോട്, there is a loss of weight in any medium except in vacuum. So ഇത് എല്ലാ ദിക്കിലും ഉണ്ട്. So that is about Archimedes principle, W equal to mg minus V rho g, which is nothing but the apparent weight of a body solid immersed in a liquid. That's it. Now I will give you a small problem. You may note it down. Okay. Shall we write? The weight of lead. The weight of lead of relative density 11. The weight of lead of relative density 11, which will balance 8 gram of iron, which will balance 8 gram of iron, which will balance 8 gram of iron of relative density 8. The weight of lead of relative density 11, which will balance 8 gram of iron of relative density 8, when lead is in water and iron is in air is. When lead is in water and iron is in air is. I will repeat. The weight of lead of relative density 11, which will balance 8 gram of iron when the lead is in water and iron is in air is. I will give you the options. 11 gram, 8 gram, then 7.7 gram and 8.8 gram. So read the question carefully and try to solve. I will give you 1 minute. After that I will be doing it on the board. It's 8 gram of iron when lead is in water and iron is in air. So iron is in air. So if you have 8 gram of iron in air, this is 8 gram of iron in air. Then certainly and surely you require only 8 gram of lead. If lead is also in air, the beam of the balance will become horizontal. Are you following me? That is how the bodies are weighed in air. Equal mass will be put on both the pans so that the beam remains horizontal. That is what normally happens in weighing. Definitely we have a different situation here because lead is not in air, it is in water. Lead വെള്ളത്തിലാണ്. When the lead piece is in water, it will experience an upthrust. It will have a loss of weight. So after subtracting the loss of weight from the weight of the lead that we have put on the other pan, the balance should be equal to 8 gram. That is the crux of the problem. Suppose we have put some m gram of lead in the other pan. That m gram of lead will experience a loss of weight due to upthrust. Subtract the upthrust from the mass of the lead that you have put in the other pan. The difference should be, the remainder should be equal to 8 gram. Then the balance will remain horizontal. This is the principle behind these type of problems. Hope you have understood. So according to Archimedes principle, 8 should be equal to m minus v rho. Finished. M is the mass of the lead that you are going to put in the other pan. V is the volume of the lead and rho is the density of water. So how do you find the volume of the lead shot? 8 equal to m minus mass by density into rho. Don't put rho here because they are entirely different. Volume of lead means mass of lead by density of lead. This rho is the density of water. Take m outside, substitute, you will get the answer. M minus 1 minus rho by d. So this is equal to m into 1 minus rho water 1, CGS 1 ആണ്. So this will be 8 equal to m into 11 LCM എടുത്താൽ 10. So m is equal to 88 by 10, which is equal to 8.8 gram. നിനക്ക് 8നേക്കാൾ കുറവൊരു ആൻസർ കിട്ടിയാൽ തെറ്റാന്ന് അപ്പോഴേ ഉറപ്പിച്ചോ. Immediately you realize that whatever you got is wrong, 100% wrong, because after subtracting the upthrust you must get 8. So this should be more than 8. So simple logic. അപ്പോൾ അതുകൊണ്ട് 8നേക്കാളും anything below 8 should be immediately, you just remove that option from your consideration. Don't pay any attention to such options. And fortunately for you, if there is only one answer greater than 8, that immediately you can mark it as the correct answer. Same problem. Both are in water. What will be your answer? Same problem. Both are in water. What will be your answer? Mass of iron is 8. These are all very confusing problems. Mass of iron is equal to 8 gram. So when both are in air, mass of lead should also be 8 gram. എന്ന് നമുക്ക് തോന്നും, പക്ഷേ അങ്ങനെയല്ല. ആണോ? രണ്ടും എയറിലല്ല, രണ്ടും വെള്ളത്തിലല്ലേ നമ്മൾ ചെയ്യണം. We are in air, there is no doubt. We are neglecting the upthrust. So mass of iron is lead is also 8 gram. The question is in water, not in air. So വാട്ടറിലാകുമ്പോൾ why we need a different approach is because both of them are experiencing upthrust, and unfortunately the upthrust experienced by the two is not the same, they are different. അതുകൊണ്ടാണ് നമുക്ക് ഡിഫറെൻറ്റ് മാസ് ആൻസർ കിട്ടുക. Now then we should equate the apparent weight. Apparent weight ആണ് equate ചെയ്യേണ്ടത്. എന്താണ്? What is the mass of iron? 8 gram. So 8 minus എന്തെഴുതണം? 8 minus V rho should be equal to M minus V dash rho. Both are in water. 8 minus V rho is the apparent weight of iron in water, and M minus V dash rho is the apparent weight of lead in water. We have to find them. Have you understood? ഞാൻ പറഞ്ഞത് നിങ്ങൾക്ക് മനസ്സിലാവുന്നുണ്ടോ? വെള്ളത്തിൽ മുക്കുമ്പോൾ രണ്ടുപേർക്ക് ലോസ് ഓഫ് വെയിറ്റ് ഉണ്ടാവും, അയണിനും ഉണ്ടാവും, ലെഡിനും ഉണ്ടാവും. So loss of weight കഴിച്ചിട്ട് രണ്ടുപേർക്ക് apparent weight ഉണ്ടാവും. The apparent weights in the liquid should be equal. Then in air there is nothing like this because there is no upthrust. We are neglecting the upthrust due to air because of the low value of the density of air. ഞാൻ തുടക്കത്തിലേ പറഞ്ഞു, this term is neglected because of the less density of low value of the density of air. So we will get M1 equal to M2. 8 gram lead ഒരു പാനിൽ വെച്ചാൽ മറ്റേ ഗ്രാമിൽ 8 gram അയൺ വെക്കണം. when both are in air. But in water and other liquids, the situation is different. Why different? Because upthrust is different. Density of water is not negligible. So we have to consider the upthrust. So what is 8 minus 8 by d1 into rho should be equal to m minus m by d2 into rho. d1 density of iron, d2 density of lead, rho is the density of water. So rest is very simple. I will give you another simple problem. This is also a simple question. Equal masses of copper, aluminium, lead and gold are weighed in water. Which is the one having the greatest loss of weight? Apparent weight equal to mg minus v rho g or m minus v rho. Then this will be m minus m by d into rho. Equal masses. So many will be looking only here. They forget that there is a second term. ഇവിടേക്ക് മാത്രം നോക്കുന്ന ആൾക്കാർക്ക് എല്ലാവർക്കും all of them will have the same loss of weight എന്ന് പറയും. അങ്ങനെയല്ല. Only the masses are the same. It not mentioned that the volumes are the same. So volume is mass by density. Masses are the same. Densities are different. So the one having the minimum density, least density will have the maximum upthrust. And he will have the maximum loss of weight. And aluminium is the one having the least density of the given four. So he has maximum upthrust and he has maximum loss of weight. Buoyant force is maximum on him. So he has minimum weight in the liquid, maximum upthrust, maximum loss of weight. So your answer is 100% aluminium. A bucket weighs 2 kilogram. And is made of a material of specific gravity 8. Specific gravity is relative density. Both specific gravity and relative density are the same. A bucket weighs 2 kilogram and is made of a material of specific gravity 8. It has a capacity of 20 liters. And is being drawn up a well. DRAWN, drawn up, UP, up a well. What is the force to be applied? What is the force to be applied while it is still underwater? What is the force to be applied while it is still underwater? So when the bucket is underwater, the force to be applied is mg minus v rho g, which is equal to the apparent weight of the bucket. And the weight of the bucket is 20 kilogram, 20 g, minus what is the volume of the bucket? 20 by bucket is only 2 kilogram. I'm sorry, this is only 2 kilogram. So 2g, 20 kilogram bucket will not be there. 2g minus volume, mass by density. Density of the material of the bucket is 8. Specific gravity, which is relative density. Density of water is 10,000. Not 10,000, 1,000 in SI. I think these are all in CGS. So this is 1. And this is bucket in the mass at 2 kilogram. That's 2 kilogram. So this should be 10 cube. And this should be into G. Relative density. So we have to multiply here with the density of water. relative density is given. Relative density is density of substance by density of equal amount of water. Density of substance divided by density of equal amount of water. So density of substance will be, relative density and specific gravity are the same, I told you. So this will be equal to relative density into density of water. So this should be 8 into 10 cube. So the cancel I put. So this will be 2 minus 1 by 4 into G, which is 1.75 into 10, 17.5 Newton. That is the force which you have to apply. Next is flotation. Flotation. When will a body float? Very simple question, straightforward question. When will a body float? This is your equation for the apparent weight, mg minus 0g. So when mg equal to 0g, the body will float. This is flotation. ഇതാണ് ഫ്ലോട്ടേഷൻ എന്ന് പറഞ്ഞാൽ mg equal to 0g. Why can't we float on the surface of liquids? Because our weight is more than the upthrust that we get from the liquid. All bodies experience an upthrust when immersed in a liquid, immersed in a fluid, but all of them do not float. But നമ്മൾ കണ്ടുല്ലോ, every body when immersed in a fluid will experience an upthrust. Fluid, whether it is liquid or gas, the body will experience an upthrust. But not all bodies float. Only when the upthrust and the weight become equal, the body will float. Otherwise, it will not float. So this is called, you can cancel G on both sides. So you come to an equation which is m equal to 0, and this is also known as the first law of flotation. This is your first law of flotation. First law of flotation. This is your first law of flotation. Very simple. Mass of the floating body equal to mass of the fluid displaced by the body. That is the first law. Now I will rewrite that equation. M equal to 0. Now for M, I can write V into D, where V is the volume of the body and D is the material of the density of the material of the body. And this will be written as V dash into rho. And there are some different possibilities here. When you look at this equation, there are different possibilities. Number one, of course, rho less than D. Density of the body, sorry, D, rho alla, D less than rho. Density of the body is less than the density of the liquid. That is our first case. D less than rho. Density of the body greater less than the density of the liquid. Then clearly, for this equation to be satisfied, V dash should be less than D. V dash should be less than V. V dash is the volume of the body inside the liquid or volume of the liquid displayed by the body. This V dash, volume of the liquid displaced by the body. If you don't know this, please copy from the board. It is also equal to the volume of the body inside the liquid. We are considering flotation only in liquids, not about gases. Both are fluids. So V is the volume of the body, D is the density of the body, V dash is the volume of the body inside the liquid or volume of the liquid displayed by the body, and rho is the density of the liquid. This is the first law of flotation. So this is your first case, and when this happens, the volume of the body inside the liquid is less than the volume of the body. So the body will float like this. ഇങ്ങനെ ഫ്ലോട്ട് ചെയ്യും. ഇങ്ങനെ പറഞ്ഞാൽ കറക്റ്റായിട്ട് ഇത്ര ഭാഗം മാത്രം മുകളിലെന്നല്ല. ദ ബോഡി വാണ്ട്സ് ഹി ക്യാൻ ഫ്ലോട്ട് ലൈക്ക് ദിസ് ഓൾസോ. ഇതെങ്ങനെയും ഫ്ലോട്ട് ചെയ്യും. Only a small fraction of the total volume is outside. Some part of the total volume should be outside. That is a must. ഒരു ചെറിയ ഭാഗം എപ്പോഴും വെളിയിലായിരിക്കണം. And this is known as partially immersed flotation. Partially immersed flotation. This is partially immersed flotation. Second case will be small d equal to rho. Then very clearly v dash should be equal to v. Small d equal to rho, so v dash should be equal to v. It means the body will float fully immersed like this, or like this, whatever way it wants. The entire volume of the body will be inside the liquid. The whole volume will be inside the liquid. This is called fully immersed flotation. This is called fully immersed flotation. Fully immersed flotation. So we have two different types of flotation. Partially immersed, when the density of the body is less than that of the liquid in which it is going to float. And number two, when the densities of the two are equal, fully immersed flotation. Fully immersed, nothing is outside. Clear? Is it clear for you? Now we have a third case. Third possibility is there. And what is the third possibility? D greater than rho. T greater than rho. Then for this equation, first law of flotation to be satisfied, V dash should be greater than V. So if a body is perfect solid, the maximum volume of liquid that it can displace will be equal to its material volume. അതിനേക്കാൾ കൂടുതൽ പറ്റില്ല. But if a body has a cavity like this, ഇങ്ങനൊരു cavity ഇതിനകത്തുണ്ടെങ്കിൽ, then surely the volume of the body, this volume of the liquid displayed by the body will be more than the material volume. Then if the volume of the material is V1, volume of the cavity is V2, then the volume displaced when it is immersed will be different from the material volume. അങ്ങനത്തെ കേസിൽ it will get an upthrust which is more than the actual weight of the body. Such bodies can also float.